everybody, it's Kimberly here. Welcome to my channel, the Send Me to Unite channel, where I've been working through a series of videos about awakening, ascension, and then primarily about the event. And I just want to thank you so much for liking and subscribing and being here today to watch this. And I'm hoping to wrap it up in this session because I've been recording these videos all day long today. I'm losing my voice, and I just have a lot of things to do because I'm headed out on a trip. I'll be gone for almost a month, which is why I just wanted to get through all these videos right now. Also, because if I were to make these videos more stretched apart, I would forget too much about what I've said and what I haven't said, and so I would either miss things or say things twice. So, which might have happened anyway because I had a few times where I'd start a video and then had to delete it because something happened. So, forgive me about that. But again, thanks for watching. So today, in this final episode, what I'm going to be talking about is the event itself, and not only some information that came through from the Law of One and from David Wilcock's study and his research and what he's provided, which I also just want to say really quickly, definitely highly recommend his books. Here's one of them here. Watch him on Gaia.com. I wish they would give me some money for referring you, but no, I don't. It's fine. I'm not a paid promoter for them, but it was the best $9.99 a month I ever spent. Okay, so and then the other place the information comes, I will really be getting more into the details that came through for me because I channeled information from my higher self, both by myself and jointly with my star sister Lisa, and that really fleshed out some better understanding. So the event, it truly is an epic flash of energy from the sun. That's how I understood it. That's how it's usually talked about and understood. And that energy from the sun truly is changing. It will change people's consciousness and raise our consciousness into a state of knowing and understanding and seeing things as they truly are. It's a state of truth. It's basically a truth serum. We have been entering this energetic stage of a place of within our galaxy. I'm going to draw just a quick diagram of that. If you've seen this before, here's our sun in our solar system right now, and we're entering this area called local fluff, and it's a 6,000 degree plus. It's way higher than that. 6,000 degrees Celsius in temperature of a very highly magnetic, energetic energy that you can see, you can actually see it visibly, but you especially can see it on the infrared, and it is activating our own sun. Like most of it streams around our magnetosphere. Magnetosphere is the sphere that protects. It's a shield that protects. Like we have one around our Earth that protects us from the rays of the sun, and the sun has one that's protecting all of us from this shield, but not completely. This energy it's totally activating what's happening in the sun. In my first episodes, I go into greater detail about some of those changes, although that's just still touching the surface. There's so much more you can research and find out, or hear on David Wilcock's shows. Highly recommend it. So as we're entering into this literal physical area, our sun is energizing, and it's giving off more and more of this energy that's causing planetary changes to all of the planets in our solar system and here on Earth. And that energy is truly causing a shift in our consciousness and awareness, and that's the primary thing it does. And in fact, I'll just go out on a limb and say this, and I could be wrong, but from what I channeled from my higher self and then other pieces of information, putting it all together, really that's all it is. It's just a consciousness shift. And so this is happening for different people at different ways. Let's just say that we have a timeline here. And let's say this is post-event. And then this is, before event, so pre-event. You can't see it there. And right here in the middle, let's say, is the major event. And I was actually told that it would be about a 6-month period of time that they called the, what do they call it? It was prime. Now I can't remember, it was 3 P's. It was something, the pinnacle, period. And I can't, there was a different word they used. I'll think of it later. So what's happening as we're entering this is, like, let's say the pre-event level of light, let's just say it's right here, and there's definitely always energy coming in from the sun, and then it's going to be the bell curve, okay, overall. But within that, you're looking at it more closely. If you literally can measure it from, you're seeing solar flares, you're seeing all kinds of, like, this energy truly is coming in, and you're going to see it in, spikes and dips and spikes and dips and so on. That's what we're happening, okay? Maybe there's bigger dips too, I don't know. Now, we're going to take a look at this spot right here. I want to do it bigger. And it'll be the same thing coming down, okay? It'll spike and dip all the way down. This has a lot to do with the angle that Earth is coming in. If we were coming in head-on to this energetic domain, it would be a much shorter period. It would be like this, and you would reach that same level, but in a shorter period of time. And as you can imagine, when this has happened in Earth's history in the past, we've had complete pole shifts where the magnetic pole shifted, from one end of the Earth to the other. We've already experienced, I think it's something like an 8-degree pole shift, and we're told in the law of one that the total pole shift will be 20 degrees. That's not so far off. That's not enough to cause, catastrophic change on Earth for the pole shift in and of itself. But when we've hit the domain, let's say maybe even another area, we might hit the domain so dead on that it's just like this. You're still going to have the same amount of energy come in, but you're going to have it in much less time. We're coming at it at a nice gradual angle, which is it's nice. I mean, we have a lot of people living on Earth at this time, way more than normal for an event. And so it's very handy, because otherwise there would have to be a lot more, actions having to be taken of evacuations, whether it was on, satellites or underground or whatever. Satellites, I mean spaceships. So because we're coming at it at less, it's not as steep of an angle, we're truly having a chance for our bodies and our mind, because this can, literally blow people's minds apart. If it hits you really fast, it's more than you can bear. And I'll give you an example of actual proof of this. So Corey Goode talks about in his, he talks about the secret space programs and how, even though most people on Earth don't know this, that we've been traveling into, all over our own solar system and even into outer space beyond our solar system for a very long time, for at least the last 50, 60, 70 years. Hitler and the Germans I shouldn't say Hitler, but Germans before World War II actually had already, gone to the moon. And so that's something you don't, hear about every day. So there are people who have gone out to as I showed you before, the area what the NASA scientists call local fluff, which is that highly energetic zone. They've gone out toward just the very edges of it. They haven't even been right in it, because I don't even know if they could. I don't know if they have spaceships that can handle that, 6,000 to 10,000 degrees. I don't know. So anyway, they've been at the edges of it, and the people that were on those spaceships, when they came back, they would have had reported crazy experiences, but their experiences varied from person to person. And this is what I find extremely fascinating. I will get back to that middle. We'll take a look at the middle section closer later. So here's some of the stuff they were experiencing. It was all consciousness. So if a person was a really negative person, it was making them truly, and I'm just remembering off the top of my head, so forgive me, I'll be missing things, and there might be some things I misstate, but if you go back and listen to these episodes where they talk about it, the people who are really negative people, who basically had a lot of negativity in their own lives, who had a lot of issues and problems and unhealed parts of them, in a sense, it was very traumatic for them. They would have psychotic events, and even to the point that I believe, I may be wrong, but I think some people actually weren't able to recover, or if it did, it took a lot of healing and a long time. But people who were really positive, actually, it didn't even affect them. They went in there and they went out of there and they were fine. So it's the same thing also as in the pyramid experiments that the Russians were doing, and when they would have people stay overnight or stay for several days or hours or whatever, and also depending on where in the pyramid they were, that pyramid literally is concentrating the energy from the sun and also coming back up out of the earth. It's the same kind of energy that causes a dimensional or a consciousness shift, or helps to elevate people's consciousness. And the people who were, really positive and happy people and didn't have a lot of, deep issues inside, they were pretty, unaffected. It didn't hurt them. Like, it didn't have crazy, symptoms from it. But people who were really negative had very adverse symptoms. So basically what would occur on a planet where if we hit really head on and all of this energy is coming in so fast that our consciousness, like the healing the healing that we need to do, inner work that you guys, we have all been doing. If we hadn't had a chance, if the light hits so fast that we don't even have a chance to, that the heightening consciousness had, worked along with us, we're a little bit more conscious, so we get more cleaned up, and then we're a little bit more conscious, so we clean up more stuff, and we're more conscious, and so we clean up more stuff. That's how it goes. So the consciousness level is going along at a pace that we're able to change with. And if that's not the case, then people literally die. They cannot handle it. So this is really important because this affect the same amount of light, whether it's more of a long stretched out, curve, or if it's a really short peak curve, that same amount of light, people are still going to have an experience here depending on where they're at. So let me just talk about it from the perspective of the negative polarity, the middle polarity, and the positive polarity. So, I'm sorry, I'm like talking so fast. I have to breathe for a moment. So, if somebody is really determined they're on a negative polarity path, what happens with this light coming in, I don't know when, and this is, let's do a period of time. It's going to be the same. Actually, I should have just left the bell curve there. So here we have the bell curve of the energy coming in and out, and of course it's all zigzaggy. So what's happened in the earlier part is based on everybody's own, where they're at. How were they affected by that amount of light coming in and how it started changing them? Everybody has been changing. Trust me, there is no one on this planet, even if they may not look like they've changed, they have changed. It has been forcing them to change in one way or another. This amount of light ends up helping people polarize more and more. So if there was somebody who was somewhere in that middle, remember how I talk about let me just do a really small one here. There's 100% positive, and there's 100% negative over here, and there's 95. That's the threshold for the negative people to ascend to negative fourth dimension. And here's the middle ground. There's a 0, and there's 51% positive. And then that right there is everybody who will ascend. These are the people who will ascend. And of course, it could be, we might get like 95% of the world's population here. That'd be great. I don't know what it will end up being, but in any case, that's the graph they have to be in. So as this light is coming in, it's forcing people to go somewhere on this. If you're over here and you're like at about 80% negative, and that light's coming in on you and you're just like, wait a minute, I'm becoming more conscious, I don't like this, and you might start moving over this way. Or you might only get to the middle, but at least you're not going to polarize more that way. But there might be some other people who are like, I'm getting more conscious and I really need to get more negative because I want to be able to graduate into the 4D negative. So they'll go more that way. So light is forcing everybody to polarize one way or another. It's polarizing, that energy. So that's what's happening as we're going into this. And we don't know yet how this is all going to sort out. But what happens to people on these different paths as this event starts to take place? So now I'm going to take a look really closely at the event itself, which I was told will be really peaking in about a 6-month period of time. And another thing I'll just say, that higher beings have a really difficult time in Earth. Like, they don't relate to time. And so if you ask for time frames, first of all, one thing they'll say is like everything's always changing, and so we can't give time frames because that, what happens ends up being on everybody's decisions. And so currently, we're maybe on a trajectory for the event to be taking place 2 years from now, just say. But then all of a sudden, we might have a leap in consciousness collectively that ends up bringing the event closer. Because the sun is literally waiting. There's this time frame everywhere between, 2012. So this is not the full bell curve. This is more of a higher level of bell curve, so we'll just show that. To 2025. or 2023, I think. Right, it's funny that off the top of my head I can't remember. I think it's 2023. Corey Good reports that the event pretty much has to happen by 2023, because after that we'll be enough into the far enough into that energy, and then even moving past it, that the peak possible period couldn't occur. It has to occur before then. So from 2012, it could have happened even then. There was enough energy then, but it hasn't yet. So here we are at 2018. That'd be about half would be, right? Yeah, we're about halfway between. Okay. So the energy coming in right now has been like this. And it's getting higher and higher. Okay. So what's going to happen, and I was shown, oh dear, now I'm kind of screwing up my whole picture here with where I'm at. I don't have enough space, so we'll just start from right here. Let's say we're at this amount of light right now, going along. And what I was told, currently we're on a track. Again, this is not a specific date. This is just more of an overall time frame. We're on track for 2 years, which actually puts us almost right in the middle of this period of time. And then they said it would be about approximately a 6-month period of time that would be the peak event. The event would be right here. How about that? I got that right underneath there. So the energy coming in is varying, right? And then here at the event, the time of the event, they said it's not just one giant instant flash. It is a series of flashes. It is a series of spurts of energy, but they're way bigger than anything we've experienced yet. So don't take my graph as accurate here. This is just me giving an approximation, right? Okay? And then it's going to drop back down. So what was interesting is that Corey actually just recently confirmed this. If you subscribe to Gaia, look at the last 2 or 3 episodes of him with David Wilcock, they talk about it. And this is where he really does emphasize exactly what I'd already been receiving from my higher self, that it's a consciousness shift, and that it doesn't make immediate change in our bodies. I believe he says that as well, because he's just emphasizing it's a consciousness shift, and that it's a series of waves of light. Now, I will just touch again on how, when you're reading the Bible, or you're reading any of these other, religions and things that teach about this energetic flash from the sun, they talk about it as instant. And I want to emphasize again that I truly was just believing and wanting to believe it's instant. And innocently, that's what I believed. And so every time I would ask my higher self about information, I wanted more details. I wanted, tell me more about the event and the shift. And they would say the same thing that the law of one's response was to the questioners about the event. Like, it's just, we don't really see it as that big of a deal. And I was like, well, it's a big deal to me, so I want to know more about it. And then they're, okay, well, so here's how it goes. You talk of it as a sudden event, but it is not a sudden event. You talk of it as if you believe it's a sudden change in your body, but it's not. And so then they go on to describe, and this is what they say, that as this light is increasing, depending on where your own consciousness level is, how your body responds to the light. And so, first of all, everybody's consciousness level responds differently as well. And you'll have different results. And this is where it gets really interesting, because we're going to see how all 3 of the different pathways shift in different directions. Now, I don't think I'm going to draw anything. I'm just going to try to talk and try to relate all that they said. And I might even later release another recording of where I'm reading more of this information so I get more of the details, but I'll just at least touch on it. So, for example, questions I had was, okay, what happens to people who have solidified themselves on the negative? They're 95% or more negative, so they're going to ascend into 4th dimensional negative. One thing I haven't said yet, but this is the case, is that they're not going to be here. Our Earth is going to be a 4D positive Earth. So anyone who is ascending into 4th dimensional negative, they will be transported in some way, either through death or through physical transportation. They'll be transported to a negative world, because there are 4D negative worlds, and they're horrible. We would never want to go there. And so they will be taken there. And so I was wondering, well, how does that work? And they said, well, like from our physical perspective, what will we see happening? Before I get to that, I'll talk about also the middle, because in the middle is all of the people who, throughout this entire light process, they don't ever completely polarize to 51% positive or 95% negative. Don't know how many that's going to be. I hope it's not a lot. But those people will also not stay here. You know, we had 3 chances. We had the first 25,000 years, and anybody who was able to ascend would have actually been taken to a 4th dimensional positive planet somewhere else. No one ascended. We had a second chance. We had another 25,000 years go by, and that, you know, the event happened then. Nobody was ready. Nobody, well, a few were, but they volunteered to stay. So, and I don't know about if anybody graduated to the negative part. I don't know. And then the third, this is our third opportunity. So there will be some people who will just have to be transported somewhere else. Now, how will they be transported? I wanted to know that as well. And then the third group is those who identify solidly as at least 51% positive service to others more than service to self. And those people will stay here. And then there's actually a 4th group of people. Those are people like us who understand, or you, whoever you are, if you understand that you are a starseed and you volunteered to come here, and your soul has already progressed up to maybe 5th dimension or 6th dimension. And so I'll talk about that group as well. So first of all, 4th density negative, and then and positive, and then everything, like what do we see happen? So they kept stressing that all of this does just play out over a farther and a larger period of time than I previously thought. Now, I have not yet really gotten them to nail down like an overall time frame. It definitely sounds to me like it's within our lifetime. So this, from a, you know, with us living right in it, we might wish that it could happen overnight. That just tomorrow we would wake up and all the negative people would be gone, and it would just be us, you know, starting to make the golden age happen. But that's not quite how it works. And so, because they were, as affirming that overall, we are on, I'll erase this now, from a very, 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 very long bird's eye view of the soul evolution, it's this. Okay? It's just a line. And, you know, here's 1st dimension, 2nd dimension, 3rd dimension, 4th dimension, 5th dimension, on up. Okay? That's from really, really long way away. So that's why they look at, here's 1, 2, 3, here's 4th dimensional shift. Okay, this is huge to us right here, right now, we're in it. It's really big. But to them, it's all part of the gradual plan of soul evolution. And so they don't see it as like this big thing. That's why every time I would ask about it, or people would ask Ra from the Law of One about it, they would just say, it's just kind of not, you know, like, we're all headed there, if you see it from our perspective, and, you know, then we ask details, they do give us details. So in our own lifetime, the light will come in, we'll probably see effects. I wanted to know about that. And they said also that because we're not hitting it straight on, the effect will not be as catastrophic. There may be some, I mean, there for sure already is increase in earthquakes, already is increase in crazy weather and all of that. That's absolutely happening and will continue to happen as we get, you know, more into that energetic shift, because everything is connected. So this energy in the very back end of all of it is literally, it's not just because the sun is shining. You understand that? It's like everything is connected through this background geometric, sacred geometry, and because it's being energized, it's hitting, and, you know, the earth itself is changing, and I know I'm not explaining it the best, but again, go to David Wilcock if you want to get more details on it. So earthquakes are happening more, so volcanoes and all kinds of natural disasters are happening as a natural effect. And so, yes, we will see things like that, and in some cases there may be some pretty catastrophic things, but for the most part, they're assuring us that it's not going to be like anything like we're shown in these crazy movies about the end of all times, and, you know, it's not going to be like a worldwide flood and you know, complete, utter destruction. That's not happening this time. And if it were, then we would be aided and helped, and the people who needed to go through the catastrophe would, you know, as per their soul's life plan, and those who, you know, wasn't part of their life's plan, they wouldn't. And again, they do talk about how death is, to them, it's like an actor on a stage who acts out that they died, And then as soon as the curtain closes, they stand up again, they're still fine. That's what death is like when you're, at a higher perspective. It's not such a horrible, terrible ending that it seems to be for us. So first of all, have comfort and faith and trust, and don't fret. Like, there's no reason to get into fear porn and, watch these end of days movies and end of times and think that the world is about to fall apart, because it's not. Even on a political level and upheaval or wars and things like that, yes, there are, in different pockets in different places, there are terrible things going on, but overall, it's not like the whole entire world is going to go into chaos. The Armageddon prophecies that are told, have been, put out there through the Bible and whatnot, those were actually negative beings that were putting out that kind of message to, again, just to get us all wrapped up into fear and anxiety that we don't need to be in. So just be assured about that. So what it looks like on just a daily basis, it will be something along the lines of, we'll notice some really serious things starting to happen. Like, for one thing, as the sun is energized, we see more northern lights, so way more like crazy northern lights going on. We'll have crazy sunflowers going on. We'll see earthquakes and that kind of thing, crazy weather. But other than that, life can pretty much go on in a fairly normal way. We won't have such catastrophes everywhere that it puts the entire world in chaos, even though there will be pockets of difficulty. And so as we get closer to that, that will be happening. Politically, and I will eventually do a video about this, but not part of the series, politically things are shaking up because, again, this light is truth, and the truth is absolutely forcing, the truth to become evident instead of hidden. And every single thing that you ever believed on a political level about our rulers, about our leaders, about our governments, about nations and one nation against the other and who's truly in control and all of that, none of it is true. None of it is as it has been told us on the mainstream media or our history books or anything for forever. None of it's true. And that is starting to come out now. And it's going to continue to unveil what truly is behind the scenes. And as per that, I was also told that, again, let's just do a little timeline, basically between now and 2023. Some of the things that we'll start seeing and approximately when, although, again, this is not absolutely, set in stone. So we have, right here is 2018. I can't write, and this video is getting longer than I wanted it. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So within the next 2 years, we're going to see, 2.5 years from now, right about in here, is when the peak pinnacle event will happen for about 6 months period of time. And leading up to this, to about this point, we're going to really just see an increase in change politically to unveil the truth. So we'll say political truth. And if you think about it, political truth, which also will equal historic, so then we'll have correction to history and science and religion. So we're going to see truth in all of these things. Political truth has to come first because it's the politics of all of this that has held the truth back from the masses. Now, all that truth is out there. You guys can find it. David Wilcock talks about a lot of it, and so do others. They're called truthers for a reason. So all of that's going to start coming out in the open, and we're starting to see that right now. So between now and the end of this year, huge changes in that. And that will really be the political zone. It's going to be huge right here in 2018. And then in 2019, this stuff is going to start coming out. And this, in and of itself, is a consciousness shift. And again, remember that the light and the energy of the shift is truly, that's what it is. All it is just literally changing our thoughts and our minds. So then we can start accessing our true template of who we are. And I'll get into that. You know what? I am going to have to do one more episode. I'll have to do one more. In fact, we'll stop right now, and I will, on the next episode, we will talk more about what happens next after the truth and science and history and religion come, and then what really happens. So we're going to culminate this series in truly talking about the event itself. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode or the final episode.